or dad, at the same point of her swing, a pulsating variable star is driven by a periodic force that has the same period p as the acoustic oscillations. Oh! The driving force behind the pulsations of Cepheids and RR Lyrae stars is related to changes in opacity. I will read your comments in just a second. Let me finish this section, but indeed I will come to your comments. The driving force behind the pulsations of Cepheids and RR Lyrae stars is related to changes in opacity. To see how opacity changes can drive oscillations, let's consider the process step by step. Yeah. The astronomy is dedicated to Stephen, who is here even though he is not feeling well. So let's consider this. A layer near the surface is heated to a temperature of around 40,000 kelvins. At this temperature, helium plus is ionized to helium plus plus. So another charge, helium plus to helium plus plus. The opacity shoots upward due to scattering by the newly freed electrons. The opacity shoots upward due to scattering by the newly freed electrons. So opacity is more because there's a lot of scattering by the newly freed electrons. Because remember, helium plus became helium plus plus, meaning it loses an electron and becomes even more charged. And so there's more electrons in the mix of things scattering about. And so opacity is increasing. Next step is the light is absorbed at the bottom of the opaque layer, increasing the temperature and pressure gradient across the layer. So once again, light is absorbed at the bottom of the opaque layer, increasing the temperature and pressure gradient across the layer. Because if you absorb a bunch of light, you're gonna get hotter. Driven by the, because it's more energy, driven by the increased pressure gradient, the opaque layer expands outward and cools. Because if you expand outward, that will lead to some cooling. Helium plus plus recombines with free electrons to form helium plus. The opacity, so because if you come back to a certain temperature where you can be less excited, then you can make helium plus again from helium plus plus. The opacity plummets because not as many electrons in the mix of things anymore. The opacity plummets and previously trapped photons rush outward through the newly transparent layer. The layer contracts and reheats to 40,000 kelvins, where the whole cycle begins again. It's cyclical, it's variable, pulsating, all of that. A layer with temperature of 40,000 kelvins is near the photosphere of the star. The central regions where the fusion reactions occur at much higher temperatures are unaffected by the opacity changes far above them. Is Ben here, by the way? Where is Ben? The fusion generates energy at a steady rate. However, the changes in opacity cause the energy to be released in periodic outbursts. Think of a pot of boiling water with a heavy lid. The water evaporates at a steady rate. However, the water vapor escapes only in periodic puffs when the pressure grows high enough to